Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. Imani wins. So today's class, the Q class, is brought to you from Queens College with very, very, very special guests. Imani wins, and I'll let when Mark comes on, you can introduce everybody. Imani wins played gigs at Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, Kennedy Center, Walt Disney Hall, the Kimmel Center, have worked with great artists like Paquita de Rivera and Jason Moran, and I guess recently are undergoing a project with Jesse Montgomery, a composer. And the coolest thing, as I was doing some research on their website, was that they have a permanent presence at the classical section of the Smithsonian's National Museum of African History and Culture in Washington, D.C. So, wow, congratulations. Now, that is like way too cool. That's forever. That's really cool. I would like to say before I turn this over to Mark, just a couple of short things. This is a series we call Q classes. We have a couple coming up. This particular class, though, is brought to us by the support of Norma and Murray Horowitz Recital Series Fund, and we are very grateful to have the Horowitz family, grateful to the Horowitz family for their continued support. I think actually one of the members of the family is joining us on this broadcast. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It really does make these events possible, I assure you. The week after, in the next 2 weeks, next Wednesday, we have the QC Takeover, where a bunch of students and faculty will play, including Paul Ballenbeck, David Jolly, Frank Morelli. Some of the students you're seeing here today will play again. And then the week after that, on the 18th, we have Emily Wilborn, our own professor Emily Wilborn, is talking about an interesting singer. It's called Black Bodies and Black Voices, Giovanni Bonacorsi, an enslaved black singer at the Medici court. And she's going to give a talk about that. It's kind of very interesting. And we all know Emily is brilliant, so it should be great. I'd like to quickly just thank all the students that are about to play. We have 4 guest students playing. Thank you to the coaches, and probably as important, thank you to Carlos Ponce and Justin Chicargo for their tireless work in helping us put these series together. Too much talking. I turn it over to our very own faculty, clarinet teacher, nice guy as far as I know, Mark, and a member of Imani. Oh, everybody, okay, I'm not going to get involved in that. And then Imani went, and he seems very nice. I've only known him the last year. He seems wonderful. So he's a fantastic player, obviously. Anyway, sorry, Mark Dover. I'm going to back out. I'll come back on to introduce the next student. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, everybody in Imani, for doing this for us. It really is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Michael, for having us. This is an honor to be here. And I think, with everything that's happening right now with the school and just everything in the country, it's times when we can come together and play music together, even online, is a blessing. So we are honored to be here. So I just wanted to quickly introduce the members of the group. We have Brandon Patrick George on the flute, and we have Toyin Spellman Diaz, oboist. Nice shirt. I like the shirt. We have Jeff Scott on the French horn. There we go, Jeff Scott and Monica Ellis on the bassoon. And just a quick, very quick history of the group. We've been together for about 23 years now, and so Jeff, Monica, and Toy members. I joined about almost 5 years ago, and Brandon about 2 years ago. So normally in normal days, we're on the road full time, traveling around, playing at chamber music societies and universities, and doing residencies and all that kind of thing. And it's been a blast for me. For me, it's definitely was my big break for my career, and so I owe this group everything, including realistically, the reason I have a job here at Queens College. So I'm thankful to the group for making some time out of their busy schedules to be a part of this afternoon. So why don't we start off with some solo trombone, which is not something that I get to hear very often. So I'm actually excited. So Elliot, do you want to just say what you're playing? I know we have the programs, but I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elliot Alexander Brown. The piece that I'm going to be playing today is the second movement of the Jacques Castered Sonatine.
And what year are you, Elliot?
I'm a first semester master's student.
First semester master's. Cool.
All right. I'm going to switch mics and play away.
Great. Bravo, bravo.
Bravo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Should I go at it, guys?
Yeah, go for it, Jeff.
The lone brass here. Elliot, beautiful, absolutely beautiful playing.
Thank
Um, you're welcome. First, tell me what attracted you to this piece.
This was an assigned piece, so this was just something that Haim Avitsur, put on my music stand and was like, "I want you to learn this."
I understand. I've been there. I played a wind quintet that plays new music, so I understand. Like, all right, we're playing this now.
Yeah.
In your how long have you had it though?
I've had this piece about a month now.
What can you tell me about composer and maybe a little bit about this piece itself? Why you wrote this piece? What is
Those are good questions. I actually don't know very much about the composer other than he's really well known for this piece within the trombone rep. So I guess that's on me. I should go and dig and find out who this guy is.
Yeah, I mean, it would help. It's not always the end all be all, but it's always good to know more about the composer, why they wrote it, in what time of their life they wrote it. Perhaps they even have a specific reason for writing this music in particular, might be in dedication to someone. All of that can play a role in how you interpret the music. And I guess the biggest thing that I could say is that it's you play wonderfully. I mean, you play with expression, you play in tune, um, and there's really nothing. I mean, technically, that I could say, but it's just I felt like a lot of the expression that you had was could have been more in a grand sense. Many of the phrases had the same arc to them, and actually some of them were a little on the short side, and in terms of like maybe two bar phrases. And I think maybe you can think in terms of longer phrases, build bigger arches, bigger emotional sort of bridges in the music. He specifically asked, in fact, in the score, for you to use a lot of expression and vibrato. And I would say that when you're building the longer phrases, not only can you take that and run with it, but you can decide just how much vibrato, when to use it, how fast to use it, how intense it could be, because then it can actually be part of how you build these big phrases. So much of what he wrote here is the same type of phrase, just on a different, starting on a different chord tone. Da 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 dee 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 dum da da dum. That happens about 12 times, and so you personally have to say something a little more special, really sort of make that even more expressive, even more dramatic. And it has actually less to do with dynamic and more with phrasing and that vibrato and that special thing that you bring to the music. Yeah, your vibrato and where you tend to use it and how much you tend to use it um, is going to be different from any other trombone player. But you have to have that as a thought. That's got to be like part of the plan. So I would say maybe just if you would, and I'll pass this on to my colleagues after this, but if you would just take a look at the first line and a half to the double piano that's about 2 bars or 3 bars into the second line, take a look at it in terms of one long phrase, because I see that as one long one,
Hmm.
where the apex is, and where you might bring the most of your intense vibrato to show where that arc of the phrase is, and then draw back to it to that pianissimo. If you could do all that in like the next 20 seconds. Sorry, you agreed to do this.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, well, and the reason, and that's absolutely fantastic, is because what that did was that changed your whole airstream. Because now you're thinking of a different way to phrase and a different way to use your vibrato. That's going to change all of your breathing, your breathing. You probably have to change that whole scheme because now you're thinking more about the expression, and that will literally change the way you perceive this piece. Now, I'm sure you've listened to other versions of this, people playing it and so on, and I would say definitely, do that. Listen to. I encourage everyone to listen to 4 or 5, as many recordings as you can. But that's just to make your gumbo. You using like all kinds of different, ingredients. But then you got to come up with Elliot's version, yeah. And the Elliot's version is going to have a different way to use his air, a different way to arc the phrase. You might do something really special with the vibrato in a certain note. But it clearly changed everything for you because you ran out of breath. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That means you're rethinking about things. So I would say try one more time. And whatever you just did, which I really love, commit to it even more and find a breath that is musical, that allows you to finish that phrase you want to, the way you want to do it.
Okay.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And to me, it's a small difference in terms of where you're breathing, but a huge difference in the phrasing and the expression. And so, that to me is like the a great way to start this piece. I feel like I could sit back now and just go, "Ooh, this is gonna be fun." I give to my colleagues now.
I
Anybody?
think we're actually that's perfect. I think we're out of time. Unless Monica, do you want to say one thing?
It'll be super fast.
Yeah.
The different, yeah, I totally agree with everything Jeff is saying. When you added the vibrato, it made a really big difference. For in two things, it made a difference in the difference between. I mean, you didn't get to the pianissimo, but I could just kind of sense that the pianissimo was going to be something special. And so the two things I would say is that with this movement, particularly since he only goes between piano and pianissimo, you really got to find that special quality, I think, particularly of the pianissimo. And with adding vibrato, that automatically adds more support to your sound. And that was going to be just the second thing I would say, that especially between large intervals, like the very first one between the E and the A, in the second bar, the third bar that you play. That you think about really emphasizing larger intervals. So what do I mean without going way deep into it? Think about putting a little bit more of pushing the gas of your support as you're going up to the larger note, to the second note, not just once you get there, because once you're there, it's a little bit too late. You know, we don't really feel the expansiveness unless you're really giving the support more gas, like literally like pushing the pedal, pushing the accelerator pedal going up a hill. If you're not doing that on the first note, then it doesn't really shine. That interval doesn't bloom as much as I think it should and can. So as you're just kind of exploring the sonorities more, add that to the mix.
Thank you. I'll quickly introduce the next group. So the next group is playing a concerto in G minor, Vivaldi, coached by Krista Robinson, and the group is Haley Unger on oboe, Sequoia Kessler on bassoon, and Jason Altry on flute. Thank you. Take it away.
Bravo.
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 Brandon, you want to start?
You can go ahead. We can go for it.
Well, I'm the only reason we're fighting over it is because we're the flutist and oboist of Imani Wins. So I would like to just on a personal note say how proud I am of Haley, who I've known for 3 years now, like met her early in her high school career. And she's making leaps and bounds on her instrument. So I'm so glad that you're studying with Krista, who is just the most wonderful, sweetest person and a terrific player. So I'm so glad you're in good hands. So I just wanted to say that first. And bravo. Let's see, where is the flutist? Sequoia and Jason. I'm sorry, which one of you is playing flute?
Jason's on flute.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Sequoia, you're the bassoonist? Awesome. Okay, great. This was spectacular. You guys, were you in the same room when you put this together? Right. So the most impressive part of this, I know just because of doing my own performances when we're doing recordings together. The most impressive part to me was the retard at the end, because you all ended so beautifully together. That's super hard to do. And may I ask how you rehearsed?
Should I?
You can
Okay.
go.
We meet on Wednesdays and Fridays with Krista, and it's a Zoom call, so we kind of take turns. One person unmutes themselves, and runs through it, and the other two people will be muted. So to them, it'll sound like two people are playing, and to the person who's playing unmuted, it sounds like one person. And then we'll just take turns going through the piece.
Great, great. And how did you do the recording? It's amazing.
For this one, Haley went first and then sent it to me, and then I listened to her with headphones and played along, and then Krista put the two of them together for us and sent that to Jason.
I see. And so Jason was last. I
Wow.
find that in these, it's
In the time of
really,
COVID, making it happen.
I know it's really impressive, really impressive. So just the fact that you were able to stay together like that was just amazing. So did you have a metronome on, Haley, when you started? And then
Yes, I did. I had it in my ear so they couldn't hear like the other soundtrack, the other click tracks that we made.
Impressive, impressive. Really great, really great. So it's what is nice about this is that maybe is this the first time you're being coached on all three of you being together in this piece, or have you been coached as have you put together composites before so that you've heard stuff about your playing before as a group?
We've done more work on the other two movements. This is the third movement, so it's more recent. I think we did like one meeting on it.
Okay. So I'm just a little background here. So the playing was fantastic. You guys obviously know your way around your instruments just beautifully. And so I don't have much to say to that. I will speak to making a Zoom recording and how to make that as successful as possible. I'm looking at the flute part right now, and I see quite a few dynamics. Like, for instance, I see the forte in the first bar, and then by the 24th or so bar, oh no, even before that, I see at 14th bar, I see a piano. I'm seeing lots of dynamics, but I didn't necessarily hear those when you were all playing, right? Would you agree with me on that? If that the dynamics could have been better? Great. So do you have your instruments there? Okay, are they all ready to go? Okay, awesome. Jason has his out first, I see. So maybe you can go first. Can you play your part at the beginning and as you are, right where you are, and is this how you were when you were doing your recording, just like this?
No, I was recording in a different area.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. How about you just play starting at bar before pick up into 10 and play for a while, and I want to hear your nice forte, and then I want to hear your piano and a few bars later. I'll tell you when to stop.
Sure. Okay.
So
you said bar 10? Sorry, I'm
yes,
not sure
pick
what
up
that
to bar
is.
10.
Is that the piano?
Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the wrong movement. I'm looking at the wrong movement. Sorry.
It's okay.
Here we go.
289, is that right?
Yeah. Start it right at the beginning and then just go on till you get to the piano part.
Okay, sure.
Okay, great. Could you possibly, do you hear, I'm sorry if you're hearing marimba in the background.
Yes.
That's my husband there playing, who used to teach at Queens College, Mike.
I love it. I love hearing that.
So one more time, and I want you to do your best job of making a beautiful piano sound and also a beautiful forte sound. Imagine you're in the middle of the best recital hall ever, and you are able to play in an ideal condition. And so just let yourself go. Right. Yeah, I'm not hearing a big difference between the forte and the piano. It's not your fault. Have you turned on original sound?
I can try that, yeah.
Okay. But as a musician, we're living in this time. So you have to make what we have in front of us work. Haley, may I hear you try the same thing and make sure you've turned on your original sound?
Yeah.
And do the same bars. That's good. Oboes rule, always. Now, last but not least, Sequoia, give it to us.
Okay.
Right. I heard it a little bit. This is a classic example of what year are you in school, Sequoia?
Freshman.
Right. It's a classic example of a person just coming into the beauty of their sound, in that we think we're playing forte and we think we're playing piano, but what we're really playing is mezzo forte and mezzo piano. So could you please go even more extreme with your dynamics? Excellent, excellent. That was beautiful.
That
I'm
was
going to
really
pass it off
awesome.
to Brandon now and let him talk.
That was awesome. Beautiful, Sequoia. And you know what I noticed is that you played more. Your forte really became like a true forte. And that's something I wanted to talk to to Jason about as a flute player. You know, it's so difficult playing quietly in the top octave, you know, just to right above the staff, right? It's painful, right? We don't like it. But what I find that is really, really helpful is that rather than to see a piano and all of a sudden think about I have to squeeze or I have to work really, really hard, I actually think about when I have a forte for the sound to be a lot more open and just have the forte be a lot stronger. And I think that helps sort of create an illusion to your listener, right? They perceive the piano as being softer without you working too hard, just because you gave a bit more on the forte. So I think for everyone working on dynamics, that's really helpful. Don't only think about the soft playing, but also think about how you can make your fortes a lot more, stronger. So also, like, I loved like your steady pulse, like, you know, the music from this time is really, it's all about the bass, right? It's all about the bass. Everything is built on that. And actually, while we're talking about how we can approach recording at this time and putting things together, I would actually encourage you all, if you're going to do another movement of this, perhaps Sequoia, maybe you would feel like recording your part first. Because the piece is based on the bass. That composers always put that first, and they added the voices, the top voices later. Like, we just know that, right? So your part is actually the most important, right? And I mean, I'm a flute player. I like to think that, you know, we're pretty important, but I have to give it to the bassoon. Like, it's all about the bass in this period. So going forward, I want to encourage you all to, when you try to put together pieces like this, It could be together. I think I always encourage my students to, if they're playing something with harpsichord or something, to listen to that first. I'll have the keyboard player play that first so that they know where their part has to sit, the feeling, groove, all that, right? So try that. I think that could be really, really helpful. I wanted to say one thing also about the dynamics in this piece. There aren't a lot, because there is this dialogue between Jason and Haley going on. It's not. I hate to say it, but where the pianos are written sometimes are not exactly, I think, the best place for them. There are not a lot of places where the bars repeat. Sometimes it's obvious, right? We can do this bar that repeats, it's identical. 1 bar later, 2 bars later, piano. So forte, piano, it's very clear, right? But sometimes when there's this clear dialogue going back and forth, for instance, the passing of the 16th notes, right? I would encourage Haley for you to play a little bit more, because you're really trying to echo one another. And I'm not saying like echo in terms of like loud and soft, but like speaking, taking turns speaking, right? It's really that kind of dialogue. And so I really would encourage you to play more whenever you have the opportunity, so that it sounds like this line is just being passed back and forth between the two of you. Some Baroque pieces, it's very clear where you can make these loud and soft dynamics happen right away, but very often in pieces like this where there's just a steady stream and the harmonic pattern is continuing to change, it's not a real lot of room for that. So really work on matching your parts a bit more. And lastly, this articulation of the slur to tongue to is so tricky, right? And I just want to encourage you to, in your practice, when you practice them, I'm sure your teachers are saying this, but just to I always tell my students, ironing out the wrinkles, right? You just want to iron out the wrinkles. How I would do that is practice them all slurred, your 16th notes, right? When you go back to trying to articulate the last 2 notes, so slur to, tongue to, really try to exaggerate the second note of the slur, keeping the air moving and only letting the tongue stop the air for the short note. If you shortchange the second note, we sort of get off rhythmically. And it almost, because you're sort of turning that 16th note into a 30-second note. It might not sound like a lot because it's just 16th notes, but it really does, for the listener, create a sense of jaggedness to the rhythm. So I would work on keeping your air moving even through the short notes by practicing slurred as much as possible. But just going forward, I know we're doing these projects from home and trying to find the best ways to move forward. But in a work like this, I would really encourage building from the bottom up. So the bass voice, always recording your part first and then adding the other voices to that, I think will be very helpful in getting the character of the piece.
Thanks.
We're out of time. But I'm going to say something. Always.
No,
Sequoia, I can already tell you're using too much tongue when you are articulating. Your articulated notes just sounded a little less buoyant than they could. So without having, again, any time to test drive this with you, just think about using less tongue. The tongue should be moving much less in your mouth. It feels like it was going too far back, and then the distance that it has to come back up to the reed makes kind of a thuddy sound, duh, 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 as opposed to duh, duh, duh. We always want it to feel bouncy and like little drops of water on a lake or something. So just think about using less tongue. I'll just leave it there.
cool.
Bravo. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, bravo.
Thank you.
Great job. So the next piece we have is Tafel Music by Telemann, and they're doing the first movement. I think it's recorded. It's Anna Tanasijevic on flute. Hopefully Anna, I apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Haley Deers on flute, Emily Maldonado on bassoon, Lily Manzueta on cello, and Stephen Tangerine I on piano.
George Philipp Telemann was a German Baroque composer from the late 17th century. He was encouraged by his family to go into law, and having graduated from the University of Leipzig, he moved into high-ranking music director positions before becoming the director of music in Hamburg. He was good friends with Bach and became godfather and namesake for his son, Carl Philipp Emanuel.
When coffee was first introduced to Germany in the mid to late 17th century from the Middle East, it was treated with great suspicion, and for good reasons. Caffeine is a psychoactive drug, as much as a coffee addict like myself hates to admit. Nonetheless, the stimulating effects of coffee were hard to pass up. It soon replaced warm beer as the breakfast drink of choice in German households. Cafes sprang up in city centers and acted as vibrant nexuses of culture, philosophy, and politics. Telemann himself frequented Leipzig's Café Zimmermann, which served as a base of operations for his Collegium Musicum, a musical society that performed the hottest and hippest secular tunes of the day for only the small price of a cup of coffee.
The quartet in D minor that we are performing is from a collection called Tafelmusik, meaning table music, published in 1733. This is one of Telemann's most widely known compositions and one of the last examples of country table music, music that was exclusively played at coffee houses, feasts, and banquets. Being a prolific composer, Telemann wanted to do something interesting, allowing some freedom in the scoring. The third melody part may be taken by a recorder, bassoon, or cello. Telemann probably wanted to give options of recorder or bassoon so that it would get played. Composers back then knew that not every household and coffee house would have had a bassoon. Recorders were probably more common.
The winds create the musical dialogue throughout the piece. In the first movement, each voice enters an imitation of one another. First, the bassoon prevents a sweeping opening gesture, and it is then followed by the first and second flutes. Each voice interrupts the preceding voice with their own flourish, so that each voice pops out of the texture like fireworks. Underneath all of this drama, the continuo provides stability.
It was incredibly common during the Baroque era to include continuo parts in musical works. This small piece of the ensemble provides a bass line and harmonic structure for the music. In this piece, the continuo part is created by the piano and myself on the cello, though Telemann may have intended for the part to be played by another bassoonist.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. I guess I'll start. This is beautiful and really awesome context to the piece and historically what was going on. I don't think I've ever seen a group do that so far in my quarantine scholarly history. So that's really cool. And the editing and recording, I know how hard that is because I've done some of it myself. So just to ask a quick question, again, for this process, did you guys kind of do it the same way? In other words, you built it up one person at a time, each person pass it on to the next, right? Okay, cool. And did you start from the basso? Like, did you start down and build it up?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was, yeah.
Nice. So, like, you know, what's difficult about this is like, this is a chamber music group and we're trying to coach chamber music, but you guys are playing to a track and you're not in the same room. So it's like, how do I really like critique you on the way that you connected to, like, chamber music is about connection, right? So when you're doing this kind of thing, it's pretty far disconnected, especially, you know, when we're just building it up like that. So there's one way that you can kind of try to battle that, and it's none of this is a perfect system, and it does require more work. But what it is like you would kind of do this whole process twice. And so, because the problem is as you're building this up, like, the first person has no context, right? Second person has the context of the first person. The third person has the context of the first two. But what you could do is you could do it that way, but then everyone makes their part exactly like you did it. And then you use that as a scratch track to re-record all your parts again using that track. And the advantage of doing it that way is that then you have the context of hearing everyone at once. And so then everyone can kind of try to respond musically to what they're hearing from everyone at once. Now, like, the way you did it, the last person to record, they have that advantage, right? But no one else does. So it's just kind of it. I've heard when, you know, for a class assignment, for sure, this is amazing. But if you wanted to take it one step further, you know, it actually is not that much more work if you think about it, to just go again, do one more take, a couple more takes, and then instead of listening to one person or two people, you're listening to everyone. And if you wanted to be even fancier about it, if you had the individual tracks, you could delete your own scratch track. So, in other words, the flutist would not have her track in the what she's listening to, so it would feel like almost like you're performing. Anyway, so that's just an example. I don't know if you guys have ever tried something like that. Is more work, but I think it can like make things a little bit more organic feeling. And then I just want to say a couple quick things. One thing that I'm noticing between this, and actually I would have said this to the Vivaldi group too, so much of this music, Telemann and Vivaldi, so much of it is sequential. So many of these lines are the same line and then the same line down a whole step, right? Or the same line up a whole step, or and I think when you're looking at the additions of this music, it's like this Telemann, there's like almost nothing here, and I could tell that you guys put in a lot of dynamics, which is cool. I obviously could have heard more. A small part of that is obviously the Zoom, the you know, all that, but I think I could have heard more, like what everyone's been talking about. But also, like, within these phrases, there's a certain amount in my ear of call and response between the sequential phrases that I always want to hear. So, like, an example, I don't have the score pulled up right now, but bum ba dim bum beam bum bum beam bum ba dim bum beam bum bum beam. How do you respond to a sequence that happens one right after the other? Like in the third bar and the fourth bar, for example, all of those 30-second note, 16 note passages, right? Every time that comes, how are you going to make that second bar respond to the first bar? Sometimes a sequence in Baroque music, and I'm just a lonely clarinet player who doesn't really know much about Baroque music, but I feel like from what I do know, sometimes a sequence continues onward and it does not have any micro dynamics that are implied. And it just is one but sometimes you want to have it very like, you have to think big picture with the phrase, but within these phrases you can have a subito bar, you could have subito forte in the third bar and subito piano in the second bar and the fourth bar, and that kind of thing. Do you guys know what I mean? And I think I wanted to hear more contrast with the dynamics and the phrasing with those sequential lines. That was like the biggest thing that I noticed, actually, and I think that's what makes Baroque music, and specifically Vivaldi, but also Telemann, it's what gives it life, actually. Because if you just play, the music kind of plays itself, but it doesn't have as much ebb and flow and push and pull. And I think you can add a lot of that kind of angst and humanity to the music through how you parse it dynamically. Does that make sense? Cool. That's all I really wanted to say. I'll pass it on to someone else.
I'll chime in quickly. I think that absolutely what Mark is saying, I'm always like the second person. So I'm always saying what that one just said. Yes, do that. So first of all, hi, Emily. Yay. Imani Wins Chamber Music Festival alumni. So I had to shout that out real quick. If you don't know about our festival, go to imaniwinsfestival.com. But I'll just say something really quickly to Emily specifically. Watch those high, like the very first note, the middle D, that it wanted to fall under pitch a little bit comparatively to the other instruments. And of course you've got piano in this case, so which is a non-tempered instrument. So do watch the pitch on that. That's one of our flat notes on the bassoon anyway, those middle notes, C, D, just right above the staff. So that needed to just be a little bit brighter in pitch. And actually that lends itself to just general quality of sound. And not to say that the sound is not in good quality, but I felt like this kind of goes to what Mark was saying. Everything just needed a little bit more sparkle to it. It just needed a little bit more dee dum dee dee da dee da da dee da. Like Mark was saying, the call and response with each entrance. When those happen, you want to really shimmer it. You really want to have just kind of these little explosion notes that will accentuate the entire phrasing of the piece. And so it's less about pitch and it's more just about intensity of sound, which of course will which will add to the pitch. So as you're going along with it, it did just kind of need that little extra oomph of sparkle is the only word I can seem to come up with. And I think that actually would help with it not just kind of being this sort of mezzo vibe. So that would be my only thought on it. Very, very good though.
So I think we have Haley who was going to play some Poulenc, and then we wanted to leave time for Q&A. So I'm sorry, I'm sure there's probably more that we would want to say, but I think maybe we should move on if that's cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Bravo.
Woo! Yes. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. So, you know how some pieces kind of follow you around throughout your life? Maybe this hasn't happened to you yet because you're so young, Haley. But I always find myself coaching this piece around Halloween. It's very, very strange. So here it is again, and because it's around Halloween, let's have fun with that for a second. My daughter is taking acting classes even now online, and I just learned something I had never known about before, which was beats. Have you ever heard of beats before? As in, not as in Beat Street, the king of the beat, instead of roughing it. But that's way too old for you to actually get that. But my Imani wins are definitely chuckling at that.
I don't get it. I don't get it either, actually.
Oh, sure, Mark. Sure. Do you know what beats are in acting?
No.
Okay, yeah, this is a new concept to me too. Beats are kind of an emotional state you're in for different parts of, let's say, a monologue. So when you're going along and acting, most people have the tendency to have the same kind of face the whole time, right? But if you're following the beats, you think, well, here's a curious beat, so you make your face look curious. Or if you're doing an angry thing, then you make an angry face, or a determined face. And I think there are some really good beats in Poulenc that you can use, and the musical beats. I will name a couple, and maybe you can name a couple afterwards. There's a kind of fearful moment when you have the pianissimo, A B A B A B A B A B A B. That's that's a little fearful, right?
Mm.
And then another one is amorous at la da 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 dee. Right? Know what I'm saying? So what would you be able to name a couple of other beats as they come up in this?
I would say like the measure after 7, the like da da da. It's like eerie. So like.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that's the Halloween part there. And maybe one more.
6 is almost like angry and like strict and like on beat.
Right. So let's see if you can get a couple of these done. Let's start with amorous. So let's see. Let me pull up the part here. Da 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 dee da 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 dee C C. Are you using an alternate fingering for that?
Dun, 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 no.
Okay. Make sure that the higher C isn't tuned. Can you start right there at do 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 dee do 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 dee? Right, great. So now could you also kind of act it out a little bit? And then still, like your shoulders out. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Okay. Beautiful. Now, let's try the fearful one. So let's act it out a little too. Hunch your shoulders forward. Move forward a little bit. And make it I think that's pianissimo or something right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like that fearful vibrato you're adding there. Can you make it quieter though?
Mm.
maybe just even less air, even less. Yeah, you got there at the end there. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Let's see, what was angry? That's a good one. That comes up a lot in this one. Yes. Okay. So right, it's like bum bum bum. So those have to be. It has to be right in time. Beedly dum bum bum.
Okay. Ah.
Yeah. So lots of air on E G D sharp. C. Just do that. Yeah. Now vibrato. E G D sharp. Yes. Now do from the beginning of it. Da 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 da. All of that is shaking a fist. Yes, beautiful. I'll let somebody else take over from here if they like. That's much, much better, Haley. Oh, I'm sorry, just one last thing. So when you're playing a piece, it's really smart to make a roadmap of emotional beats that you're following along with. That way, no, regardless of how you're feeling that day, let's say it's a good day and you can just go for it with all your heart and soul. If it's a bad day, though, you can still go for it because you have these ideas already in place and you know how to make them happen. Even, so it doesn't even matter what kind of, emotional state we're in. Those acting state will get us through.
Hi, I think, thank you. And thanks everybody for playing. Thank you, Haley. That was lovely. Thank you, Tyne, and everybody for just a great class. I can't tell you how much it means, to hear from professionals at this time. I agree with somebody said in the beginning about, just what a lousy time to, be 21 and like just all about wanting to be in a community and just the world seems like it's crazy. So just the fact getting to hang out with you guys and hearing that you're going through the same thing maybe gives us all a moment. It's at all levels and it'll get better, people. That part will get better. And vote like your life depends on it. Show that shirt, Tyne, one more time. I want people to vote. Oh, vote. I can't do that, but I can vote at least. The first part I got.
Oh, but you can, Mike. You can vote just like a Black woman.
All my friends say that to me. I never understood it. You have to explain it to me at some point. but vote. Please, everybody vote. That's bring a sandwich. It might be long lines. I'm sure if you're running late for a class, your teachers will understand. I promise you, I will give you a pass on that. So I'm just filling time until while Jane is. Are there questions? Where's Jane? We're going to see if there are a couple of questions. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. Jane?
Anna, you had a question?
I'm saying, are there questions in the chat?
Not at the moment.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll end it there then. Thank you so much for
questions that aren't that people just want to say that they didn't put in the chat though.
They didn't. I think there's a little bit of delay, so the questions are hopefully coming in. But I thought a student groups who are here actually had some questions. Anna, did you have a question? And I also see a hand from Elliot.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Sorry, I'm only looking at this, so we have somebody monitoring the YouTube channel as well to see. So I didn't even see the screen. Sure, Elliot, do you want to ask a question? Absolutely. You should. You guys should all ask questions. You played.
This is more of like a general statement. I saw that Edward Smaldone wrote something about Jamulus in the chat, and one of my ensembles that I'm currently playing in, we meet on Tuesday mornings at 11. It's a jazz combo. It's like organ, drums, and guitar, and we meet on Jamulus. And so we'll have the Zoom up for video, but we'll have all of ourselves muted, and we will literally rehearse live in our living rooms in real time. And we've had a lot of success with it, and You'll have to talk to Professor McCrell about this, but you can also record the session in Jamulus. So let's say you guys really wanted to make a good take, you guys play it together and it works. There's a chance that you could like go back in and take the recording from that and use that as opposed to the whole tracking method.
Have you? That's awesome, man. Have you? You said there's drums in the group.
Yeah.
Have you played stuff? Is it all stuff that's pretty like in time, or have you played stuff that's kind of spacey, rubato kind of things?
I mean, for now, like we've been playing standards, but like we played Black Nile. It was like I think the quarter note was at 220. So
right. Yeah.
And we were able to rehearse that and
awesome.
not lose so much time.
Nice. You guys are all using like wired Ethernet connections and stuff.
We're all we plug in Ethernet.
Right.
You have to do that.
Right. That's really cool.
Yeah, we were able to do a little bit of a hip thing where we have, I don't know if you know Dennis Mackrell, drum set faculty. He kind of helped put, get everybody kind of onto Jamulus a little bit. So there are a couple of groups and a couple of rep classes that are happening on Jamulus now. So, and we outfitted a couple of rooms to be like Jamulus friendly and whatnot.
Right, right.
There is a question just about, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry. The question, if you see over in the chat, says, how are you all handling being in an ensemble with social distance restrictions? Mark was mentioning about the connection. How do you still do that? I know in my group, we get together and we just make sure we talk a little at every rehearsal because we're still doing some concerts, but what do you guys do?
Yeah, it's been we have not come together as a group. First of all, Jeff is in Oberlin right now, where he just disappeared, where he has his new position. Sorry. I said your name and it was like, bah, right. So that's the first thing, but we have fortunately found ways to stay connected with lots of business type things. The fact of the act of having a chamber music group is obviously the music, but in many ways, in so many ways, it's a small business and it's a very intense business. We have a nonprofit that the group is now sort of shifting to and creating and building. We've got a record coming out in the early part of next calendar year in February. So we've had lots of discussions with our label and with each other around that. We've been able to do things like this, quite a few things like this, where we are connecting with one another. So absolutely, it's really difficult to not be able to play with one another and see each other and have that energy. But fortunately, we've got so many other things to deal with and to work on that has taken up the time. And I might speak for everyone, kind of fulfills you in a way that is way different than what we want to get back to doing, but at least there's something. And the Jamulus thing, I'm not super tech friendly on all of this stuff so that much, but I have at least heard of that. And so I'm so glad that's something that you guys are really taking advantage of, because you got to find ways. You have to just find ways to keep it going. Otherwise you do kind of go a little bit stir crazy. So yeah, mostly the business part of the ensemble has taken up a lot of the time. So we've been able to stay connected with that.
It's interesting. That must work a lot like the way the group interacts musically. Like you take that kind of formula, like you have to have trust in other people's doing work for you and with you, just like you do when you're rehearsing, right? Like there's a trust.
Sure.
You're going to do your thing and come ready and have ideas and that. I know from doing that, and I was just thinking that because I'm thinking, the people I play with are now, one just got a job at University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, so it's like funny being in an ensemble with somebody who's in Ann Arbor. Like, wow, yeah, we're playing in a group together. So I see with Jeff there, that's interesting. But if you form that bond, you really do carry that through. It seems.
Sure, for sure. Well, being in the group for so long, even with people that are different from the original members, it's still we're still a very close-knit, tight-knit band of five five-headed hydra. So yeah, we keep the bond.
Sure. And I assume, like, I imagine, it's with everybody, when you get to your guys' level, there's a lot of real work going on in rehearsals, which is nice. Like, you can still say you're friends, but some weeks you're literally just rehearsing and then running out to another gig or a home to feed the kids or whatever it is. But, you're not, it doesn't, I guess what I'm saying is this long-term relationship doesn't deteriorate the quality of rehearsal, obviously, which is nice. We've all seen that where people get in and hang a little bit and something's got to get to work.
Well, we got plenty of that too. So
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, I
we
guess
got
so.
to monitor each other all the time.
Right.
Looks like
Well,
there's
I don't
something
want to
else in
keep
the
you
chat
guys.
there.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. It just looked like one other question in the chat about advice for a young group starting
Yeah.
out that might want to make their career as a professional chamber music ensemble.
Sure. Who wants to take that? Somebody.
I had started it, and since it's my girl Krista, I'll just keep going with that. Yes, practice together a lot. Decide or figure out who's the best at kind of making logistical things happen. It could be one person, it could be a couple of people, or how you would divvy up all sorts of assignments. Maybe somebody's really good at social media posts. And so you divide up who's going to take on what and make that all very transparent. So there won't be any problems with that later. And you can reassess as time goes on. Pick music. Of course, music is number one. Pick music that speaks to you. Don't just play what you think people want you to hear. Play what you want to play and what you would like to listen to. Also, try to make your group be as even and inclusive of everyone as possible. Make sure everyone's voices are heard at all times, not just have one person who's talking all the time. Everybody should be talking, Brandon. And so make sure.
I'm just gonna let you talk. You want to say?
And laugh a lot. That's the last thing. If you can, if that's a type of group you are, that's been helpful to us. So there are, of course, groups who don't hang out that much, but we have been lucky enough to find 5 people in every version of ourselves who we all get along with really well. So thank God for that. That's why Monica, Jeff, and I are still in this group after 24 years together, 23 years together. So
yeah, it's interesting. People don't realize how literally you become like family. It's like not a joke. You really just after a certain time, it just shifts over, and that you really become family with people. It's nice.
I felt that way after like 6 months.
Like I said, you're
really
nice
work happened pretty fast.
We had a question from Jane says how to motivate yourself to practice when you can't play with others. Yes.
Someone please tell me.
It's so hard, right? But I think finding creating short-term goals for yourself to kind of keep yourself going during this time is really, really helpful. I've seen a lot of friends and colleagues posting about etudes and things like that. And I'm a real fan of those because they're short, sweet. You can get them, you can, learn a couple or one in a week or so. And it keeps you in shape, keeps you moving forward, and keeps you ready for the next time that you have to play together. I mean, you can't, being in a chamber group, you have to, it's about everyone collectively, of course. And it's the same in an orchestra, it's about everyone collectively, but it's also about everyone as an individual and the work that they do on their own so that they can come together and make something really spectacular. So I would encourage you to try, it's very difficult. This time is very challenging, and I don't want to try to diminish that and take away from that. But what I will say is to sort of latch on to something that you are in control over that can help you come back together with your colleagues and play your best. And that's your own individual practice right now, and creating short-term goals for you so that when you do come together, you can bring your best for yourself and your colleagues.
Learn how to record yourself now, because if there is literally any time to learn how to do that, it would be right now, right? And I had practically done almost very little before March. And I would just kind of give myself deadlines, like, oh, I'm going to record this thing. And then I would just do it, because I don't know about if you guys are like me, but if I don't have structure, or if I don't have something to tangible to go towards, it's really hard to like just practice like into the air, which we in a perfect world we would be doing. But so that's kind of how I've figured it out, is just learned how to record and learning some of the technology stuff, and like just giving myself things to do. So.
All right, I don't want to keep you guys. You guys have been so nice and giving your time, so I won't keep you any longer. Thank you for being here. Imani wins. My humble appreciation to just a great job. Thanks for working with us. Thanks for letting us have Mark, and everybody. Thanks for playing. All the students, all the coaches. Thank you so much. Remember, next Wednesday afternoon, you'll get a concert with David Jolly and Frank Morelli, Paul Bollenbach, Aubrey Johnson. I'm going to play a little. We're going to kind of mix it up. A whole bunch of students. Anna, a couple of you guys are going to play. So please be there. It'll be a fun day. Everybody vote, 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 vote. Bring a sandwich, bring a chair, bring an umbrella, whatever it takes. Miss your class, I'm telling you, just go vote. And goodbye, everybody. Thank you again.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Michael.
Tell
Thanks,
Jeff
Jane.
I say, it was really nice seeing him, okay?
Pleasure.
All right, will do. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Everybody, thank you.
Congratulations, everybody. You sound great.